If narcissists are bad, why do we vote for them? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One you've grown up with your whole life is hearing people talking about people in charge doing things certain ways, so that it's normal. Figure skaters do impressive things in circles on big slabs of ice, and everyone acknowledges that politicians lie constantly. That's life. We don't know any different. Another reason is calling someone a narcissist can feel mean. It's one thing to acknowledge that a politician doesn't seem honest, especially if they're on the side of the other sports ball party. But it feels mean to say it about someone, especially if they're on your side, right? From my perspective, all politicians are narcissists until proven empathic. Am I cynical? Maybe, but I'm also a gay man who has worked in tech support. Since shortly after I turned 20, I have been constantly bombarded with the fact that most people don't see themselves as liars, but 80% of people will tell tech support that they've already restarted their modem and it didn't fix things when I could still see that the damn thing hadn't been unplugged in 3 weeks. Some people would honestly say, like, oh, I knew I should have unplugged that before I called, but lots of people were very comfortable with fibbing. Of course, my strategy was always just to say, I'm sure you unplugged something, but let's go look for the little box that says Motorola on it and let's disconnect the power. You'll know that you've done it when the lights are off. It's not popular to say that adults, on average, don't like to learn, especially since some adults never stop learning. They love learning, they love reading, they love creating, and they think they're part of the majority. If that's you, you're probably wonderful, but you're not most people. We teach teenagers to drive at 16, and we shouldn't stop. Because once people finish their schooling, there's often a really steep drop off once they get into working a job where most of the time you can learn almost everything you need to know within the first 2 weeks, sometimes within the first 2 days. In a lot of cases, the hardest thing to learn is like a point of sale system or something like that. And then after that, most of what you used to use your brain for in terms of learning becomes strictly about entertainment. And maybe you might find educational entertainment like me, but you also might find entertainment that pretends to be educational, but is actually being funded by people who want to warp how you think and really do benefit from keeping you dumb. Anyway, narcissists, particularly ones who think quickly and adapt well. I didn't want to use the word smart because smart implies ethics, but ethics tend to come out of they come out of empathy combined with intelligence, and as a rule, narcissists typically have either minimal or no empathy. So the word smart or intelligent doesn't really work here. It is worth noting that they can choose to behave ethically, but they're typically not going to figure out ethics themselves. If they do start behaving ethically, it's typically because they've worked with a therapist and they've come to the realization that if they burn through everyone around them and constantly destroy everyone around them, they're just going to be left in a pile of ash. And being left in a pile of ash is not fun. So they learn to restrain their toxic behavior and they learn to try and get narcissistic supply from multiple sources, and they kind of learn to acknowledge their condition and adapt with it. But honestly, most narcissists can't do that. Like they you have to be willing, like you have to be smart enough to understand, like it's very uncommon. It's also worth noting that not all narcissists are as overtly weird as someone like Pierre or Danielle. Sometimes they can be very capable public speakers, and it is reasonable for you to want to like them, especially when things around them are calm. Narcissists can be a lot of fun for a while. If you look at Pierre, he hates talking to reporters because they're the enemy. But if you just watched him at his rallies, you could be mistaken into thinking that he's just a little bit of an odd duck and he's probably fine. Also, it can be difficult to know for sure if a politician is a narcissist. Their staff generally do not write reports about whether or not they're being treated well behind closed doors. Their spouses typically come on the campaign trail and say nice things about them no matter what. And most of the time what you hear them say is stuff that's been worked out with speechwriters. But narcissists become very good at telling you what you want to hear, assuming that they can figure out what you want to hear, but they do have pollsters for that. But their condition makes them naturally good campaigners. So why don't we want them in office? Well, if you noticed, the media right now is using the term deal constantly to refer to trade agreements. Narcissists are terrible at collaboration. They want what they want when they want it, and they are often too stupid to facilitate that. But early on in life, they learn how to create chaos, which causes everyone around them to adapt and placate them. Currently, the chaos south of the border is not working out well for them or the world. You may see certain countries cave, and there's also going to be an exaggerated appearance, particularly in American media, of countries caving. Because when a narcissist creates chaos, everyone wants to sell the idea that things are back to normal as quickly as possible because chaos is uncomfortable for people. If Carney doesn't capitulate very quickly after he's elected, you will see the media and other politicians start to apply pressure to him to make a deal. They're not going to be quick to acknowledge that no negotiation from America is being done in good faith. And Trump's media personalities are going to put a lot of effort suggesting that Canada is being unfair, that Canada's trying to take advantage of things. And realistically, in the negotiation, we should be trying to take advantage of things because the fact is, none of this should even be happening. We had a deal. We should have just been able to stick to that trade agreement. One of the reasons why I'm actually kind of hoping that the Liberals get a majority is because if they don't have a majority, then that allows hostile actors to try and pressure the other parties to do a no confidence vote. I really don't like the idea of any party having a majority. I think Canada typically works best when the majority party has to find common ground with other parties. But in this case, I'm at least okay with it, in part because of that reason. Overall, narcissists exaggerate their achievements and minimize their flaws, so their followers may truly believe they've accomplished something, when at the end of the day, they're often celebrating the rot of the organization that the narcissist is seeing, but, lipstick on a pig. So, no matter who you're going to vote for, it's a good idea to learn to recognize the signs of narcissism and refuse to support any narcissists in politics.